Now, West Africa today stands at a crossroads. Several countries have recently seen military takeovers or coup attempts, including a failed uprising in Benin and a successful coup in Guinea-Bissau. The regional bloc ECOWAS has responded by declaring the region in a state of emergency, warning that democracy is under serious threat. Now, observers say this wave reflects deeper structural problems: weaker institutions, rising insecurity, failing services, and frustrated publics. In many states, democratic promises have fallen short, prompting some to welcome military intervention as a reset. Yet, if democratic governance is to survive, the path forward must include rebuilding institutions, ensuring accountable leadership, protecting civil rule, and addressing security and economic needs. Without that, coups may become the grim default setting for political change.
Well, let's have a conversation. We are joined live in the studio on Daybreak by Nweke Jr., former Minister of Information and National Orientation, and former Minister of Information and Communication, and the former Director General of the National Economic Summit Group. He is a polyglot. He speaks Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa fluently. He's looking forever young. Welcome to Daybreak, Mr. Nweke Jr.
Thank you, Wenga. It's good to be here. Good morning, ladies.
Good
morning. You are also the chairman of the School of Politics and Governance. And I remember the last time your institution had a public campaign on the state of democracy in Africa, where you raised that alarm that democracy is in crisis. What is the way forward? What is the way out of the wood?
Okay, well, good morning again. It's good to be here. Just a few corrections, please. It's the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. I used to be Director General of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, not National Economic Summit
Nigerian
Group.
Economic Summit.
And then, of course, I'm not the chairman of the School of Politics, Policy or Governance. I'm chairman, Fixed Politics Nigeria. Yeah. And the School of Politics, Policy Governance is an institution that belongs to Fixed Politics Nigeria. Okay. And it's an institution that was established to prepare Africa's leaders. And the whole idea, the thrust of our entire strategy is built around emerging leaders who have character, who have capacity, who have competence, and who are able to really devote themselves to issues about citizen welfare, about the welfare of society, and not themselves if and when they do get into positions of responsibility. Yes, so Benga, what was your question now?
Yeah, I was saying that you raised an alarm that democracy is in crisis, and in view of the failed and weak governance, military interruption, and the Gen Z revolution on the internet. You raised an alarm a few months ago that democracy is in crisis. What is the way out of the wood?
Well, thank you so much. So, Benga, the introduction given by one of your colleagues there really captures everything, right? The available data shows that Africans, in fact Nigerians, do not really have a problem with democracy as a theory or as an ideology. The problem that Nigerians have is the issue of the performance of democracy. Right? What's the impact of democracy on their lives? And as one of your colleagues pointed out a moment ago, the Nigerians are concerned about insecurity. We want to be secure. Nigerians are concerned about accountable leadership. Corruption is very, very rife. So there is significant mistrust or loss of confidence in public institutions like our judiciary. Trust in the judiciary is particularly low at this time, where our citizens are very concerned about the quality of life that they have. And so clearly, if you want to restore trust in democracy, right, the right thing to do is for our leadership to become accountable, is for the institutions to work for them, credible elections, independent courts. It's for the matter of insecurity to be tackled head on. Is for quality of life to improve, generally speaking. These are the things you must do on an ongoing basis to restore trust in the citizenry and then therefore protect and preserve democracy.
Right. What do you think about Nigeria's intervention in Benin Republic a couple of days ago for the coup there, and the seeming distrust by some West African countries against Nigeria, particularly the alliance of Sahel states. How do we manage this relationship?
Well, I mean, first of all, of course, you realize that the administration acted, our government acted within the framework of the ECOWAS, right? And there was a statement that was very, very clear. That was not a unilateral decision. This was a decision of member states, of heads of government of ECOWAS. And so I'm not so, yeah, while Nigeria may have provided that leadership, for obvious reasons, we're a massive country, large population, you know, large economy, large military, and we occupy a very, very strategic position on the continent, and it's something that we've done historically, reaching out to help our brothers, our brother, countries and things. So it's in keeping with its long-standing, tradition of sorts, but one can understand the cynicism of citizens. Can understand it because we're grappling with our own issues here. We're grappling with our own issues, and that just tells you that, you see, there's a new and rising wave of citizen consciousness. Right? People are interrogating government more. People are interested in accountability. If Nigeria was, well protected and our economy is doing well and leadership is accountable and the cost of living is manageable and bearable, you can be sure that Nigerians will feel a sense of pride that yes, our governments can project power elsewhere. But what you find on social media is we're here looking for protection ourselves. Why are you going to go and do this? But I repeat, our government was not acting so much on its own accord, even though it's in enlightened and strategic interest for us not to have that fire burning right behind us right there. Right. So for me, I'm clear that it was a good intervention, but we must not forget, right, that charity begins at home. Right. Our leadership must, pay more attention to what is happening here, listen to what our people are saying, and the reality is there for everybody to see, and that way we can, of course, begin to mobilize trust in government again, and then encourage our citizens to continue to support government to resolve the very many challenges that confront us as a country.
Right. Now, you have just spoken a lot about accountability. In your opinion, do you think that ECOWAS is still an effective guardian of democracy?
Well, let me put it this way. I would like to flip it the other way and say, listen, I'm hopeful that recent events in the ECOWAS sub-region would help the political leadership across these countries to really sit up and see that their citizens, the citizens of the respective ECOWAS states, are yearning for change, are yearning for accountability, are yearning for security, are yearning for a good life. Right? Are yearning for independent courts. They are yearning for credible elections. That's what it must be, right? So that's the only way democracy can be preserved. Because at the end of the day, why does any government exist by whatever name it is called? Governments exist by whatever name, whether it's a monarchy, whether it's a military dictatorship, whether it's a democracy, the citizens are interested in a good life. They're interested in being secure in their homes and on the roads and on the streets and in the markets. They're interested in having a good life. They're interested in their children being able to go to school and then not kidnapped. They're interested in, carrying on their livelihoods or pursuing their livelihoods without molestation, without being murdered, right? So that's really what it is. And I'm hoping that ECOWAS as a body and that ECOWAS heads of government will see this as an opportunity for a reset. We'll see this as an opportunity to actually pursue reforms, significant reforms across the relevant sectors in their various countries.
Okay, one thing you've been able to establish clearly is the disgruntled state of citizens across the region and in general in Africa about the poor state of governance. And in light of this, many leaders of social and political thought are calling for a new model of democracy that would capture Nigeria's and the regional aspiration that is quite indigenous to us, that not everything in the past is bad about Nigeria. We can't just copy and paste the Western model of democracy, and that is why there is so much gap between democracy and governance to the people. What's your take on this?
So, Nweke, thank you so much. Excellent, excellent question or comment. Now, my position is very simple. Whatever you call the system of government, whatever you call it, whatever coloration that you give it, indigenous, non-indigenous, copied or not copied, if you have political leadership that do not have character, if you have political leadership that do not have the discipline, if you have political leadership that do not understand that the essence of public service is service, really service, that the reason why governments exist is for the welfare and the well-being of the people, for the security of lives and property, that the reasons why governments exist is to ensure that every human being created by God, every citizen, have opportunity to fulfill their God-given responsibilities. Whatever name you call it, whatever coloration you call it, you're still going to have the same result. Any leadership that is not accountable to its people will fail. So for me, yes, we have opportunity to really rethink this democracy in a broad sense. And I had spoken somewhere one time when I said, listen, some of the attributes of Western democracy are not completely new to Nigeria. In our traditional governance systems, some of these things were embedded. The idea of consensus building, the idea of accountability, the idea of looking out for vulnerable members of society, right? The idea of sovereignty residing with the people. All of these things are embedded in our traditional governance systems through the centuries, long before Western democracy was conceived. So I agree, some of these things are already there. But given what I've just stated, how have these things translated to better quality of life, better security, accountability within our system? On the other hand, these values in our traditional governance systems have been eroded over time, right? So we must go back to first principles. We must remember who we are. We must clearly understand that the basis of development and the basis of advancement in most societies that are thriving, is accountability, is discipline, is law and order, is independence of the judiciary. The economies have been shown, data has shown that countries where these conditions obtain have done so much better than countries where these conditions are absent. So let's not try to pretend that these things are any other way. Yes.
Okay, these challenges that are going on, not only in Nigeria, across the continent. When you look at organizations like the African Union, what's your view about how they currently exist and the impact they have? Because, for instance, the other day, a historic peace deal was signed between DRC and Rwanda in faraway Qatar, not even in any African country. So what's your take on organizations like that and what they should be doing?
So I would make a broad set of comments based on what you've just said. First of all, why was the then Organization of African Unity conceived? You want to go back to the charter, and then it's now been changed to African Union. That organization was established to promote African unity, to promote cohesion, to promote intra-African trade, right? To promote, continental, the dignity of our peoples and things like that. And then to pursue common aspirations around independence, okay? Around cultural and social cohesion and cooperation. That's why it was conceived, right? It was conceived to pursue our common interests. And there's nothing wrong with that. So in terms of its, the raison d'etre behind its establishment, yes, it's there. But the question then is, has the organization fulfilled the purpose for which it was established? I would say to you, to a certain degree. To a certain degree. Now, I fast forward to the comment you made about the peace deal between, I think, Rwanda and
DRC
and DRC and I think the meeting took place in Washington,
so
D.C.
there was a first one in Qatar, and then the final one was in Washington, D.C.
Subsequently. So clearly that tells you that power abhors a vacuum. Power abhors a vacuum. And so clearly, if you continue to be unable to manage yourselves, either as a sovereign state or as a multilateral organization like the African Union, you can see that other global powers who have interests, right, who have strategic interests, which your incompetence or your ineptitude could undermine. Of course, they step in. And I can assure you that if you dig into the interest of the United States and the interest of the Western powers in Rwanda and other places, there are clearly very important strategic national interests for these countries, right? And so clearly your incompetence, your ineptitude, or your indiscipline will not, they're not going to sit back and watch those interests undermined because some people are not willing to step up for their people and for their continent and for their citizens. No, they're not going to do such a thing. So it is a shame, because those are, in the past, right? If you look at, say, Nigeria's role in the liberation of Africa, for instance, right? Yes. So this was a major global, power in West Africa that clearly had a very it articulated a very, very strategic, foreign policy objectives, right? Mm-hmm. And there was that vision on how we wanted to project what Nigeria was, what we stood for. There was very, very important projection of that power, and we projected it. And that's why you saw that Nigeria played a role in the liberation of Zimbabwe, then Rhodesia. Yes. Nigeria played a role in the liberation of Angola. Nigeria played a role in resolving the apartheid conundrum in South Africa. Mm. Nigeria has intervened in so many countries way back. When there was that terrible crisis in Liberia and Sierra Leone, Nigeria projected that power. But remember, what was different then and what is different now? What was different then was that we had a very secure country, right? We had a secure country. And then perhaps the quality of people in government also. There was some thinking going on at certain levels, right, which appeared to be absent at this time. Mm. And clearly, you can see how the absence of this strategic thinking, the absence of quality, personnel and the rest of them are undermining Nigeria's ability and capacity to project that power. Every major power projects power, first of all, from domestically, then into the larger world. That is when people take you seriously, right? So I hope that the African Union, I hope that the ECOWAS, and I hope that other regional bodies around the continent can really, come back in and have a rethink, right? Have a rethink, because things are clearly not going well on the continent. We're the butt of jokes.
Right. Now, Mr. Nweke, you've spoken very passionately, and I quite enjoyed your perspective on how Nigeria has played a role in Africa generally, but I'd like to hear your comments on what you think is the reason why there is this level of terrorism happening in Nigeria today. What do you think contributes to it? What do you think are the causes? Any comments you can give on this?
Well, I mean, first of all, I didn't even ask your own names, but you see, I think the reasons are common knowledge, right? There's been a complete failure of leadership, right? And it's not, when I say this, let me be very clear, it's not about now. It's not about the last 2 years. There's been a progressive deterioration in the in the way that our political leadership have confronted some very important national problems. Okay. And the result is what we are now seeing, right? That day after day, national institutions, very prestigious, important national institutions, are losing their dignity. They are being, look at Nigeria's military, right? Confronted by a ragtag group of terrorists, right? That are worsting them, that are just embarrassing everybody, embarrassing the government, embarrassing the nation. It's a complete failure of leadership. And then secondly is the political will to take the relevant actions. We have seen governors come on air and say, we know where these people are. Oh, we gave the intelligence, we got it, when we escalated it, oh no, nobody acted on it. We've heard governors come on national TV and say to us, yes, another was given 2 minutes before an attack happened, and then they had to leave, and then they came and kidnapped the students. So clearly there's something that is going on. And unless there's a complete reversal, unless our political leadership now say, listen, enough is enough, and step up and lead. We've seen things happen in the last several weeks, right? And now the question some of us are asking, why did we wait for a threat from the United States of America in order to begin to act? So the actions that have been taken shows that there's a latent capacity which can be unleashed if the political will is there. So I'm hopeful that the actions initiated, the reforms initiated in the past several weeks, that momentum will be sustained, and that sooner rather than later, security, comprehensive security can be restored within our nation, and our citizens can breathe a sigh of relief.
Well said. I can say brutally Frank Nweke Jr., thank you so much for bringing so much insight into many of these issues, and thank you so much for making our time to be part of the conversation on Daybreak. And that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Benga Ashiru. It's goodbye from me.
And I'm Constance Ikoku. Thanks for joining us on Daybreak today.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.